secrecy. Yeah, I got more records than the KGB. So, no funny business. You already are. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make them all day. I get one down in a second if you wait. I fly like paper, get high like planes. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make them all day. I get one down in a second if you wait. Sometimes I think sitting on trains. Every step I get to, I'm clocking that game. Everyone's a winner, we're making our fame. Bonafide hustler, making my name. Sometimes I think sitting on trains. Every step I get to, I'm clocking that game. Everyone's a winner, we're making our fame. Bonafide hustler, making my name. All I wanna do is take your money. 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 Pirates, skulls and bones, sticks and stones and weed and bombs. Running when we hit 'em. Lethal poison for the system. Pirates, skulls and bones, sticks.
Hello, America. Welcome to another edition of Almost Patriots Podcast. I'm your host, Rico. I got my buddy Chris in Indianapolis and my man Mike _anonymous in New York. I feel like
joke's never gonna be let down.
yeah, it's beautiful here in California. Today was like 75 degrees. What are you guys doing? Are you guys freezing your asses off?
Pretty much.
Taking foot long. I think I took like a 3-foot long icicle off in my garage this morning. So.
Wait, hold on. Is that Chris? Who is that?
Who is
That's
that?
not Chris. That's not Chris. That's not Chris.
It's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Can you talk into the mic a little bit?
Yeah, can you
maybe
talk in the
turn-
mic?
I don't want
But-
to.
It sounds like it's the same
far
problems
away,
that
yeah.
Chris usually has. But
Turn it up or something.
It's the same. So,
No, no,
gentlemen,
but turn the mic up or change it or something.
last time I messed with it, it ruined everything. So it's too late now.
he's
Okay.
fine now. Just let him go.
All right.
Just let him rock with it. Like his YMCA.
So, Chris,
Pretty
why do you look like you are auditioning for the D-roll movie part in like Top Gun the porno?
Actually, it's The Village People. That's the name of the movie. It's tomorrow's National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So.
Oh, okay.
So out of all of us, you decided to go get a mustache. You decided to get a mustache, glasses. I will say it looks very good on you. It looks very good on you. But I think I've seen a wanted poster around a school.
I do look like I drive a panel van for sure.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you came to California, you'd fit right in. That's a great outfit. Yeah, if you had a tan and like a joint, I mean, you'd fit right in.
Especially in San Francisco, you'd fit right in.
Oh yeah, nice. Where'd you get that mustache? Did you have to borrow it from your neighbor?
Amazon. I was gonna say I shaved my neighbor's dog, but Yeah, it's rude. So.
Yeah, please don't go
That
that
dog-
far.
that dog
You
is-
already look funny. Don't set yourself up anymore.
That dog,
dog
is
is-
fucked up.
oh,
You don't want to
God.
shake. You don't want to go near that dog. I've seen that
I don't
dog.
think.
No,
I think that dog is undead. Honestly, I think the zombie apocalypse is going to start at my neighbor's house.
Shout out Scorpion Percussion. Shout out Scorpion Percussion.
Yeah,
Random.
I mean, it just
slightly,
shouted it out.
just slightly,
Slightly shouted it out.
But yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, man.
It's cold. That's what it is. It's cold out here.
How was the snowstorm? Did you build many fires? Did you burn the fucking Christmas tree we bought you?
No, man, I'm telling you, it's in the box in the garage. It's
Okay.
like
I'm just
super
double
wood.
checking. No, motherfucker.
man, I cleared a pathway. The only snow I cleared around my entire house is the 2-foot path from my back door to my grill. That's it. So.
Did you get your? Does it have propane?
Of course it does.
Yep, of course, yeah.
Okay, good.
With an extra tank. So,
Good job.
With the extra.
How bad?
tank.
How bad is the snow in where you're at right now?
It's not very bad at all.
and well, for me, it's not like a foot, and then it stopped. But Indianapolis doesn't have the infrastructure to like clear the roads very well, so I think they just plowed my neighborhood today, and it stopped snowing 2 days ago. So
They don't have the infrastructure to plow streets. It is known for its snow. So why the hell? What have they been doing?
well, Indianapolis is not known for snow. It usually snows like once or twice, like bad enough. So yeah, but it's just too many streets for them to plow everything. So
Gotcha. Rick is shouting out our new sponsor, Celsius.
Shout out,
that'd be great.
Susia.
Yeah.
Susios.
Yeah, I drank mine already.
Did you
Oh,
really?
nice.
Oh, look at that.
Way to
So
go,
good.
buddy. Look at that.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
amazing.
Keep up the good work.
Keep
I will
up
try.
the good
I will
work.
try.
Cool,
Yeah,
guys.
National Law Enforcement Day.
That's boring as
tomorrow.
fuck. So
So,
today I learned. So go ahead.
No, just appreciate.
Yeah,
Shout
let's
out.
big shout out to everyone, all of our law enforcement officers out there, everybody doing everything, CBP, sheriffs, everybody. So today, I learned when I went to the law enforcement depot to buy an outfit for today's show, which I thought I was like real slick. Let me tell you, I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking get like a whole outfit. Watch this, right? And like I had all this, like I had like a blue police, like San Diego police with like badges and shit shirt, and I had a hat, and like oh man, I had a grip of stuff over at Ace Uniform. Shout out Ace Uniforms, which is
Just shout out everywhere we go today. Just shout out.
and that's how
Shout
you
it
do
out.
it on the stream. You shout out, Mike. I know, but that you just got off a ship from 1873. But like, this is how the internet works.
Okay. Anyway, so what was
So
the
what
point of
happened?
your story?
So the point of my story is, I went to, so I get to the very front, with all my police gear, and like she's checking me out. She's like, "Let me see your credentials." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I was like, "I have my Costco card," and she's like, "Your police credentials." I'm like, "I'm not a cop, right?" And she's like, "Well, you can't purchase anything that says police or San Diego police on it unless you have police credentials." I was like, "But I'm doing a show." She just laughed in my face, and that was my experience when I tried. So
That
this
sounds
is my,
about right.
That's my shout out right here. So.
That sounds
Way to
about
go.
right.
Way to go.
Oh.
You didn't get arrested for trying to impersonate a police officer, so it's good.
No, I did not get arrested for trying to impersonate a police officer. But speaking of police officers and first responders, have you guys checked out these fires that are going on in LA,
Nuts.
man?
Nuts.
Crazy.
Absolutely
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, they are. So LA is on fire yet again. And I have like no idea. Let's take a look at some of the stuff. It's pretty grueling. And so there's a couple interesting things I want to talk about with this specific topics. But let's take a look at kind of what's going on.
This is the
Maybe,
view
looks
from
like a big
a airplane as from
mess.
KTLA photographer Paul Sanchez as he's giving us an aerial perspective to the devastation in the Palisades. Sky 5 unable to fly due to a temporary flight restriction put in place because President Biden is in town. But this is an incredible view of what it looks like from above.
Yeah, we will have more in terms of an aerial perspective, we believe, tomorrow once the sun comes up. And
well, there you go, guys. Check that out. So these aren't like tiny fires, right? And it's in the Pacific Palisades is the area which these fires are taking place, which is a pretty. I'm assuming it's a pretty nice area, and so. But anyways,
Assuming it's a very expensive area. It's extremely nice in LA.
There you
talking
go.
about multi-million-dollar homes.
And so there's a couple of things that irk me about this. And first of all, when give a shout out to everyone that lives out there that is nearby LA that's going through any kind of toasty environmental change, and
We pray for everybody that's involved in this.
yeah, and for all of our brave first responders, shout out first responders, shout out fire jumpers, fire runners, even fire walkers. Shout out fire walkers, and anybody that's facing the fire in Los Angeles. But there's a couple of interesting points to be made here. So like there was an article that came out talking about how one of the largest home insurance companies canceled all of the homeowners policies in Pacific Palisades last year. So I mean it's kind of fucked up, right? Like that's
Was it all of them or a lot of them? I thought it was just
a lot of them. I don't think it was
Yeah.
all of them, but it was a lot of them. I have my notes here, but yeah. So like a lot of them in this area where now this area is being completely torched. In addition to that, I found out that there's a lack of water. So there's no water in any of the fire hydrants, and they can't fight the fires because there's no water. And then President Trump had something, or incoming President Trump-elect had something to say about Gavin Newsom's response to that. And apparently, according to this, allegedly, and I don't know if this is true, Gavin Newsom refused to sign a water restoration declaration, right, that would have given him a bunch of resources water-wise from rain and snow and all these different parts of California. And he wanted to basically protect this fish called a smelt. And it actually didn't even work. And so now, ultimately, they don't have any kind of fire for the fire hydrants or water for the fire hydrants or the planes. And so this is like another example of some really, I want to say, poor administration.
Yeah, I thought the other thing was that they reduced the budget for that area's fire
17 million.
Yeah.
17 million. So I want to just give my take on this, Ricardo. Appreciate it. So one, talking about insurance, the regulatory environment in California. California is one of the worst regulatory environments as it relates to insurance because of things like this. Also, it has to do with cars, multitude of other areas. Do you fault, and I'm going to ask this to you guys, do you fault the insurance carriers that do not want to write homeowners coverage or fire insurance on these homes, knowing that this is possible? Because you're on the hook with a lot of the cost if it burns down. So, would you really put yourself in a position to do that?
So I know, in some places that are in flood areas, you can't get floodplain insurance, you can't get flood insurance or whatever on your house. In this particular instance, because a lot of California is susceptible to this kind of stuff, I would imagine that if you had fire insurance and you own the home, they shouldn't be able to revoke it. But whoever buys it and moves in, that'd be a different question, right?
Yeah, so I'm 50-50 on this, coming from an insurance world. I think I understand why the business is doing this, because at the end of the day, insurance carriers are supposed to be profitable. After you collect your premium, you go through a year, you have the opportunity to turn around and say, no, we don't want to write your insurance, or we do. We think you're a safe risk if you're not a risk. So I understand that. However, it's very similar to Florida's issue right now. There are very limited insurance carriers that write insurance in those areas. So if I owned a home in California, or if I owned a home in Florida, it's so incredibly hard to get home insurance. And if you are able to get it, you get horrible coverage, but more so, it's extremely expensive. So there's such a huge fundamental problem here that has to be fixed. But I got news for you. Gavin Newsom's not fixing it. This guy he went to Palisades Park, I believe it was, today to do a photo op of him looking at a fire with the camera behind him. Like, that was all it was. Like, the guy is useless.
Yeah, so back when I first got stationed in Miramar, we used to have fire, like, we used to be on standby for fire. No, it's like because of helicopters, right? So, like, we actually had a Bambi bucket brigades where we would hook up Bambi buckets to the helicopter and go and dip them into the lake and, like, put out fires. And, like, all you got to do is call Marine Corps and, ask for it. But we used to, like,
that's one of the other.
for it.
What's one of the other questions that's being asked is like, why hasn't National Guard been called in to help out with this? Just put the fucking fire out. I mean,
It's not as like one of the things is it's not easy just saying put the fire out, because the problem is the winds. They change every second, and how strong those winds are, it takes it in a different direction, accelerates it into a faster rate of fire. So it's extremely challenged. But the problem was, I remember a couple of years ago, is what did they didn't clean up the brush holes on the sides, or like I can't remember exactly what it was, but the state decided to use funds in other areas, but they didn't clean up fire areas that were high fire territories, meaning they could catch on fire relatively quickly. It was like the bushels or whatever I think it was called. Undergrowth, there we go.
Yeah, it's a common practice in
So
California and Oregon.
Yeah, so look, it's a lot of the problem is there's a lot of issues here, and it's just not getting rectified. Hold on one second.
Yeah, it's kind of a shady practice, I think, to me, like with insurance companies kind of pulling out. I mean, I feel like it just, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I understand from a business side of what they're doing, because it makes no sense. If you're susceptible to a wildfire every year, okay, and your ultimate goal is to make money, I think like it's at a point where you're like, okay, is this a smart move on my behalf? So I can understand them doing that, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing too is that was brought up in the article that I saw was the sort of being able to compare this when I believe there was just another aid package that was approved to Ukraine, which I understand there's a war going on there, and we have sent quite a lot of weapons, and I understand Russia's going over there. But at the same time, we have this domestic issue again, another natural disaster here. Like we had the hurricanes.
They're going to get $660 now.
That's ridiculous, man. I mean,
that's what happened in North
if they treat
Carolina.
it with North Carolina or like even Maui, and so like these three huge sort of like that's three in a row, man. I mean, that you're not taking care of the people. Like I don't know what kind of message needs to be sent, but I mean, like this should be like cleaned up and like taken care of quickly, and people should be made whole. I mean, we are the richest country in the world, and that's like the richest state in the richest country in the world. Like,
it's the fifth richest economy in the world.
Just make it
California.
happen. I mean,
California,
I don't know
state.
enough about Gavin Newsom to talk shit to him, but I know enough about living here. It's ridiculous. Like I mean, like it could be like a powerhouse, but it's just everything is just completely handicapped.
No, I agree.
I saw Elon talking about why he pulled out, moved his factory to Texas, because he said it would have taken him 2 years just to get the approval to build everything, and it took him 18 months to build the whole factory. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much.
There's so much. I was just gonna say that. Well, look at the hyper. What was it? The hyper.
The train. Oh my god.
Yeah, the hyperloop, the train or whatever. It was supposed to be so much faster. It was supposed to be done. I think they got. What was it? The most recent estimates. It was like they got 10 miles done for like $6 billion or something crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's going on there. The other thing that I saw that was kind of cool, because I kind of want to follow up on this, and I know a lot of people out there saw one of our podcasts where I brought up a little bit about AI agents and the future of AI, which was our last podcast. This week, Google released a white paper on AI agents. And check out this post; it's pretty cool. And basically, what this is sort of like a training on how you could possibly like learn to code and program AI agents. So the reason I want to bring this up is because I think it's really important. I think everyone who's interested in this kind of technology should should take a look at this. I mean, I'm not a coder. I don't know that I would be able to like be coding this kind of stuff, but this is all open source, and these things are very powerful. And so this is basically the instruction manual on how to get AI to do things for you, right? Like on the internet, to pay bills, to apply for jobs. And so like this is a really kind of powerful tool, and I'm not sure that a lot of people noticed it. But I did want to bring this up. It's pretty cool. So I think we're really going to see an explosion in this industry of AI agents and bots, what we would consider. Google is kind of leading the way here with this. I would love to take a look at this. What do you guys think about these new? I guess call them work tools.
So you just get an AI bot to do a bunch of stuff for you. I mean, but that means you have to be pretty much fully plugged in, right? I mean, you can't just.
No. You can program it. Chris, it looks like you just made out with like an old lady with a lot of lipstick.
Yeah. It was taking that off was uncomfortable for sure.
Yeah, your mic is much
Chris,
better. Much better.
I was just gonna say, it looks like you got lipstick like right next to your nose.
Yeah, I was
That's okay.
making out off camera. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's all good.
So like basically like Mike, you could basically program or pay someone to program an AI bot that was trained on all the legal precedents involved in your industry, and it could be something that would search for and suggest pieces of law that would be relevant to your cases. Like that's one of the uses of an agent.
No, because then it would make a lot of attorneys. The best way I could put it is
no. But it wouldn't do that. What it would do is they wouldn't fire you. They just give you that tool, and then maybe they wouldn't hire anybody else.
Yeah, but it would also eliminate a lot of individuals' jobs and stuff like that, because the essential nature of AI makes your job easier in that regards. It's basically, in essence, an assistant. So why would you have all your assistants under you doing the work or doing some of those tasks? It's definitely helpful. I agree. I don't think we're there yet personally with the training. Even though they have white papers, there's been a lot of issues with the AI, like search engines, automations and stuff like that. We're not there yet. I think eventually we'll get there. And I definitely think that's going to be something that everybody is going to use. I hate to put it that way. It's going to be a way of life. I think some some industries are still going to have it. But with Google releasing this, it's kind of interesting, right? Everybody knows ChatGPT, right? Everybody talks about their capabilities, but Google is the one that has the capabilities of releasing this. It has the capabilities of helping people use their AI agents or engines. So I would have thought this would have come from somebody else, but I feel like Google is starting to take more of a precedent in what AI engine to use and so forth.
It's interesting. I mean, I feel like if you could figure it out, it would really reduce manpower in a lot of industries, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm much more selfish with it. I'm thinking like, how much stock data can I feed one of these things? How could it help me? Like, real estate data, polling data, consumer data, buying decisions, like but billions and billions and billions of impressions and interactions.
So let me just ask you this, Ricardo. I think that's great and all, but I think the data is always changing, and what's put into or who collects that data is completely different. So those models will change. But I did see a AI 20-year prediction based on Ripple, XRP. And you know what the Google engine said, or the AI engine said after 2040? What do you think they said? XRP, what do you think their price would be?
1.5 million.
No, they said it would be 40 cents. Yeah, it said actually, they said in 10 years it would be regulated on certain, it would be approved on certain, with the government and in certain areas. And then they said the AI model said that it would basically go back down to 40 cents.
But how much time do we have? I want to sell at the top.
So the highest it ever reached was like $6. Yeah, so that's my point. So your predictions based on AI models could be accurate. They can't be. It depends on the information that's being put into it and given. So, and who's putting it in there. So that's why I say sometimes those predictions might not always be accurate.
Yeah, that's kind of been the problem with AI up to this point, is that it's biased based on whoever's putting the information, because it's essentially just a faster search engine. Mm-hmm. It's not actually AI, so it's just whatever input you put in, it's going to spit out. That's why AI is, sort of right now, at least in some of the previous Chat GPT iterations, it was a very left-leaning politically. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that that's been fished out a lot of the, yeah, because like I've been seeing all over X that people like ask Grok. That's the AI system that we get on X, and you get on X. Actually, it's pretty useful. And it's free, I guess, with premium or whatever. A couple bucks. Chat GPT is $20 a month. I have both. So Grok, I mean, like, it's biased still. I mean, and I know that it uses a lot of the language model that it trained on. I'm assuming, besides the internet, is everything in Twitter, right? That's why he bought Twitter, was so he could train that AI model and language model on like interactive responses, like quickly. And then put it into robots and cars. And so that's, if you guys don't know what Elon's doing, the real reason that Elon Musk bought Twitter was so that he could train his AI on all of Twitter's data and all of the inputs from billions and billions of people, so he could develop it in real time and then put it into his robots and cars.
Well, also, I want to bring up something also as well. Google is using, or they have stated that they're going to use AI for its, I believe it's its nuclear power or nuclear, it's with all of its agreements to generate or run the nuclear energy reactors to help with powering all their systems and data consumption. So you're going to start seeing that more and more in certain areas. I get nervous about crap like that, man. I don't know about you guys, but AI functions. There was an article about AI robots in China, which turned around and they were told that they were going to be shut down. And so what did these AI robots started doing? They started communicating with each other in this one area, and they tried to basically leave.
Yeah, and then I heard that those AI robots all went back to each individual's different houses and lowered all of their vehicles.
No, are you serious? That's not the same article.
No,
it's not the same article. Yeah.
No, not the same article.
Anyways, asshole. Next.
Lowered their vehicles? That was the best you could come up with?
Yeah, they poked holes in the tires.
I could. That's it.
Is that like your refrigerator is running joke?
No, I mean, we might as well just kill it. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. All right, next.
I mean, honestly, the key to the whole running the nuclear thing is like the AI agent or whatever you want to call it. It can do math better than we can. So, like, I mean, and we're talking about exponential growth with power, right? So you'd much rather have an AI computer calculating all that stuff versus some MIT graduate trying to do it with a TI-83 or something,
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the things too, like,
TI-83.
so like
that shows our age.
I mean, like, so we're pretty far away from like a bunch of this stuff, but I think from a behavioral standpoint, for like a physiological standpoint, there's something that's important to understand. And so, like, we have all of our sensors, our eyes, our nose, and all that stuff. And so, basically, our brain was only able to absorb, 7%. Remember, I was talking about this, of all of that information. And so the world that we make of ourselves and the brain that we create is one that's built on a 7/7/7/7/7%, right? And you're compounding that. Now, imagine that an AI isn't going to be built that way. That would be an error. And so now you're going to have some sort of level of consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, or mimicking it, that is able to assimilate not 7% of the input, but 100%, or even 50 or 60% of the input. It's going to have a lot more perception knowledge than human beings ever will. Right. And so that's another thing to be important. Like, people think they're just going to like put this thing into a robot and it's going to just like act and be like us. No. What the problem is that we're discounting our limitations, and that's what makes this experience of reality something that we can all share. And so, like, you have to think about the limitations that we have with all of the senses and the processing, right? And so that's going to create something completely different.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is that 7% is integrated with all the senses, and AI can't integrate all of your senses without particular sensory inputs, right? So you're talking about having visual, sound, all this stuff, and then trying to assimilate all that information into a program, and then each one of those inputs has to get like combined, and our brain does that automatically, programming that. I can only imagine, right? I mean, I'm definitely not there.
But
I think that's kind of the thing.
The thing is, it wouldn't be programming. It would just be like feeding it a whole bunch of data sets. And so, like, you get all of the auditory input data sets that you ever had based on everybody's ear tests that were ever done. And then you train a model on that, right? And then that becomes like, let's call it the expert, right? That's one entire AI on its own, right? Then you train a model on all visual data and visual medical reports, and then, olfactory and, whatever, and touch and all that stuff. And then you have 5 AIs, right? And then you train an AI on those 5 AIs, and that's your interface, right? And then that's how you get it, right? That's how you get it like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to do the work. The AI does the actual coupling and researching. You just have to program all the weighted results. This is why it's dangerous, right?
I feel like there's still holes in that, though, because there's too many variables that aren't accounted for. But
for sure, absolutely holes in that. Mm-hmm. But it would be interesting. So AI agents, guys, these things are coming to your house. They might be taking your shit. I don't know, but it's better to take.
And lowering your cars.
Yeah, don't lower your car. Yeah. If a flood comes, anyways. So speaking of AI agents and AI agents gone wrong, this case is pretty interesting, guys. And so I don't know if you heard about this, but there is a lawsuit that just got filed against
RealPage.
RealPage, a group of really large real estate owners that were renting in the United States. And RealPage was using an AI software, right, to slowly manipulate and push up rental prices, right, throughout the neighborhoods in a collusive way that actually increased the rental prices on a lot of people, and in a not a nice way, and probably not legal. Let's see, one second.
Well, each state has different laws as it relates to it, so we don't know if it's illegal.
Let's see. Justice Department is suing 6 of the nation's largest landlords for illegally raising rents using algorithmic pricing, right? And so the AI algorithmic pricing is what did this. Multiple states. So it's Department of Justice, Mike.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. Department of Justice sues a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
My whole thing is, from a legal perspective, all states have different mechanisms, so they have rules in place of how much you can raise, if you can't, etc. So I don't know how this occurred by the algorithms and how much they were raising rent by and how they were doing it. That's a question for the Department of Justice that you'll find out more. But every state has different ways that you can raise rents.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, so check out, this is AI agents that are probably being used in a not so nice way,
not so friendly way,
right? So like when I'm like, hey guys, AI agents, I want to think positively because I want to get shit done, but also you have to realize that these things are going to get used by much more resourceful people than myself, and they're going to get used to do this kind of shit, man. They're going to get used to like squeeze profit legally out of everything that they possibly can, you know, since like the Miltonian economics, where he's, you know, this guy Milton Friedman, one of the Chicago boys, basically said it was the duty of a corporation to do everything legally possible within its to make profit. So that's kind of what we're going to see with these AI agents.
Of course, 100%. And I definitely. So the problem is we talk about the AIs that are doing this, like an AI agent, but somebody has to put that in and tell the AI agent to do that. You know, like, okay, we want to try this, or let's do this, and the AI agent will take it under.
You're saying the culpability is there's still a good line of culpability.
Absolutely, because some AI agent's not going to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to manipulate the algorithms to make as much money. Somebody has to tell that AI agent or tell that program what to run and how to do it.
That like profit is the goal or whatever
Yeah.
at any expense.
At the end of the day, humans are still going to be held accountable. Humans are going to direct this at a certain point on what to do. So there's always going to be a human behind them telling, okay, we want to do this or we want to do that. And they're going to execute on that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing that we've talked about before with like polls and taking data that you want for some of these medical studies, where they just sort of eliminate certain data points that don't align with, you know, the research that they want, the results that they want. So it wouldn't be surprising if, you know, they plugged in information that fit a certain growth model, and then removed data that was outlying so that they had a certain increase. Because if you put as a, you know, nobody wants, well, not nobody, but, you know, if you put in an AI model and it was reducing rent prices, they probably turn it off.
Yeah. Oh, where's Ricardo? There's Ricardo. I lost him for a second. I
Sorry,
got
buddy.
nervous.
Had to stretch out my stomach and back here a little bit.
I got nervous. I thought I lost you, buddy.
You don't look nervous. You look like you're trying to sell me a used car.
He's a Mormon Bible salesman.
Mormon, that's
Wow.
even scarier.
Wow.
Is that how you,
Okay, guys, keep it going. Let's go.
Anyway, so that's all
Coming
I
from
got.
the pedophile over here.
That's all I got on this
Hey,
one. But
Joseph Smith's the man.
This next one here, speaking of pedophiles, is the homelessness among Portland students.
I guess. I don't know.
That transition, I'm done. That transition, I'm done.
So yeah, it looks like we got a live shot here from Portland
Oh, God.
of the whole crisis there.
This isn't the 1970s?
This is apparently 3 or 4 hours ago. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
how
this
it's
actually
going. This is
looks
how it's
pretty
going.
recent.
Allegedly.
Yeah, so this is one of my topics. I wanted to bring this up because it's becoming a huge problem. Portland, Oregon, one of the bigger issues right now that's going on there, obviously every state, every city have issues, but in my opinion, one of the bigger issues is Portland students, homeless, have been spiking. Last year, I believe it was at 30%. This year, there's been an increase of 20% of students that have become homeless. And there's a multitude of things that people are attributing it to. But it's not just Portland, though. It's a national problem. According to HUD, nationwide last year, there were 41,000 students that were homeless in schools.
At college?
They're definitely not on your side.
No, public schools. So it's from elementary or from lower education up to high school.
Nationwide is not on your side.
Yeah.
So their parents are homeless, or they're just living alone?
So they're homeless, which can be a combination of either. Well, obviously, if they're living in a household with their parents that they don't have a home, so they're literally living on the streets in essence, or they don't have a formal
and they still go to
address.
class. I mean, I had enough trouble getting to class. I lived like in a nice little fucking right on campus.
But this is a problem, right? So you want all these students to be successful in life. So you want them to have. You want them to have a home life. You want them to be able to sleep, eat, have a roof over their head and be able to take care of themselves, to focus and school, having an education, because education is key in life. You need to have an education to understand how to deal with the world's problems, understand how to read, write, understand how to do math, basic. You have to understand how to turn off Ricardo's mic when he makes bad, horrible jokes. You have to understand all of these things. But the problem is, if you have no home, if you're sleeping on a bench or in a shelter or something where, you have no physical address, you can't do homework, and you have a multitude of issues. So this is in today's society, I would have never thought we had so many kids just in general that have no home to go to with all the resources in the most wealthy country in the world. And it's kind of scary to think about.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, because like nowadays you can't even begin to survive academic life without a computer, right? I mean, if you don't even have a house, how are you gonna?
Yeah, but I saw this guy was driving by, and there's a guy who was homeless, a young guy, in a tent, and he was on his MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Where's the mic button? Where's the mute button?
No,
Where's
I'm,
the mute
I'm
button?
serious. Here in San Diego, 100%. This guy was literally sleeping on the street in a tent, but he had a laptop, man. I mean, these guys are still, they're still online.
So the whole, I can kind of contribute this to a couple of things. One, I think it's the lack of resources, or for these individuals, it falls on the parents' responsibility. But two, I think it's also the times that we live in, because I think everything's so expensive. I think, in certain areas, especially Portland's not a cheap city anymore. It used to be cheap. There's a lot of issues there, but there's a regentrification element to it. So it's a very expensive city now, depending on how you look at expenses. To live certain places, I think it's a problem. And also, you see social welfare programs going up more and more. You see social housing going up, so it's becoming more of a lottery ran orientation. Like in New York City, you have in buildings they have something called like the poor door, which is basically the real estate developers build these high rises. They have all these wealthy people that move in. They are on one side of the building, and then there's another door on the backside, which is saved for a more so lower income apartments. Same building, it's just different entrance areas, and it's different kind of
Is that
setup.
similar to the rent control thing that we were talking about last week?
Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about. Like here in San Diego, yeah.
So you have housing problems, I think. You have inflation, which is hitting these areas. And I also think it falls on parents, too. And it also falls on people bringing kids into this world when they're really looking at them. Is it the smartest idea bringing them into this world at this time? Are we really bringing them in because we love kids? Is it unplanned pregnancies, having kids? Or is it another kid means I get more money from the government in certain areas with certain things? So there's all these questions that are being asked, or all these problems that need solutions. But I don't think any kid who's truly a kid should not have a home to come to, because you're already at a disadvantage in life, because you did those formative years, you develop your personality and your brain.
Plus, like for me, like I'm just sad because I feel like it shows a diminishment in the American spirit, right? Because like in my day, when you're homeless, you sold drugs. That's what you did. Yeah, you sold drugs, but then you got out of the hood and you started, a record company, and then you put GHB all over a whole bunch of people in compromising positions and became, a billionaire. And that's how you did it. But, now kids, they don't even have any kind of industrial drive whatsoever. They won't, sometimes you got to slam the rock.
So when I was back home, I don't know if you guys knew that Oregon reversed their possession laws again. So like a couple years ago, Oregon changed their possession laws so you could carry like coke or heroin as long as it was, there was they increased the amount basically. Yeah, it was crazy. They increased the laws. So, and I can't remember the number specifically, but it was basically like it was no longer a felony possession to have drugs as long as it was under a certain amount. Basically any drug, you couldn't get arrested. Well, what happened?
Sounds like New York.
Did most of Mexico move there?
Well, so that's what I'm saying. So what happened? Like my mom and my siblings live near the border of California, and so the city that's on the border had this influx of homeless drug people because they can have whatever drugs they want. They can't get arrested for it. And I would imagine that since Portland's on the northern border of Washington, they probably had the same problem. I obviously didn't really think about it until this thing, but they reversed that law. So now they've gone back to felony possession.
Well, you could just come to You could just come to New York. New York has this lovely thing because they're concerned about people's health. So they don't want you using dirty needles. They'll actually give you a tent give you clean needles so you can shoot yourself up. Great policy.
I thought
You're
San Diego
enabling
had that.
people.
I thought San Diego had that like clean needle thing.
I think they had that. Yeah, I think they had that for a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. But New York, I remember there was an outrage because it was found out that they had like tents and setups for people to do drugs in these tents, basically, because it was under the auspice of healthy drug use, meaning we give you clean needles so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, there's so many ways to slice that bread. It's unbelievable, but we want to stay away from drugs.
Yep.
Stay in school, keep going to class. I think it's amazing that we still have people who are homeless that are still attending school. So, that's the way to do it. And, I just think it's another example of sort of like, socialism gone a little bit too wrong. And like, we need to start helping people within the borders, regardless of who they are. Especially, people that don't have the same type of education that, some other people might get access to. And then those people can all move to Jersey and apparently become teachers now. Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't know if you guys saw this.
These transitions today
segues
are these transitions are phenomenal.
Right. And so I don't know if you guys saw this. New Jersey ends its basic reading and writing skills test requirements for teachers. A barrier for educators. All right, man. Mike, this is your topic.
I thought you had to have a master's degree to be a teacher. Is that not true?
Professor.
That used to be. Yeah, you used to need to
at
have
a university. For sure.
Yeah, okay. But you used to need to have formal education and whatnot. So in New Jersey, it's called the Praxis Care Test, which you had to pass, which is a basic test for reading, writing, and math. However, the state decided to axe that away. I'm actually, believe it or not, I think it's a problem in certain areas because I think you need to have that like basic ability to do that and what you're teaching. But New Jersey, like every state, has a major issue right now, and that's having teachers. So you have a lot of teachers that are in best way in urban, in certain areas, right?
Get it together.
And then inner cities, though, you have a lot of teachers that don't want to work there. So the problem is they have a tough time filling those positions. So I think by their logic is if we don't have this requirement anymore, we'll attract a lot more teachers to those areas. So I don't know if it's a good thing because who you're going to attract, because reading, writing, and math is a basic necessity to teach it. You need to know it. You need to be able to explain it. But at the same time, by not having somebody take this test and not demonstrating and get a certificate for it, then my whole thing is it really stopping people from being able to be teachers, educators? Is this really going to stop kids or students learning those elements? So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way because like what you can, and I guess from a not just a compassionate standpoint, but let's just call it a more like value driven standpoint. Like I don't need to know everything about engineering, right, to become a plumber or an electrician, right? And I could probably teach plumbing and being an electrician. And so even if I don't know everything about physics, I can definitely learn what I need to teach this portion of physics effectively, right? Because it's not like you're teaching from A to B all the way to the end. And so like you could literally learn a skill yourself, a portion of some sort of educative discipline, and then teach that without having to have a master's in that entire subject. I would require some sort of topic specific, qualification system for this, but I wouldn't be completely opposed to this. What I don't want is like teachers that don't know how to fucking read and write teaching like really like young kids.
English or math. I think it's a systematic problem just in general across the border. I think that the problem is we have all these certification tests, which are money makers for states and things of that nature, where it's like you got to pass this test to practice in this industry and demonstrate a certain understanding. I know a lot of people that are very smart and very successful people that understand industries better than others that have certifications and licenses in those industries, because it's exposure, because it's learning, all this. They don't need to take a test to understand that and basically teach. And that's why I have a problem with this, because you're going to get a lot of people that want to apply to these jobs now that are great writers, that are phenomenal at math, and that can read and teach that. And if they didn't pass that same test, they would have never been able to do it in the first place. But on the flip side, you might lower your standards.
What about?
So that's why.
Do we know where New Jersey stands versus the rest of the nation in like academic scores?
Well, let's put it this way: New Jersey used to have very good. Wait, what was that?
In academic scores? Yeah, let's see where they stand. I mean, like if they're like, I feel like this is like a football lottery. Right, so if they're already like the 50 out of the 51st worst in the country, this is not going to hurt them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to get more people in school. But
well, let me put it this way: a couple of years ago, I think Mark Zuckerberg gave a couple of schools in New Jersey, I think it was $250 million to help. I think it was in Newark, to help their educational system, and he said he'll never do it again because it went to administrative costs mostly.
Yeah, people siphon money. This is like a corrupt ass country. Newsflash.
Yeah, I think New Jersey overall
number 4 in education
in the entire country.
Let me find another article. See if
so
that's
U.S. News ranks New Jersey number 4.
Okay.
14th best state overall. Number 4 in high school academics.
I would say
there's another one that says 4th
let's
as
keep
well.
an eye on that, and maybe they have a system that's really good or something, and we could, and if not, if this fails and they are like 50th, then we know.
Yeah, so it becomes back to a issue, which is they can't attract teachers. So it has to do with the shortfall in that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you might see these in other areas or in other states, because it's a national problem right now.
How do you feel about AI teaching classes?
You and your AI throwing that back. Well, some people don't learn that way. Some people need an actual person, like, to teach them that one-on-one. Others can watch a video, they can listen to an AI and do it. Some others, the learning styles might be different.
And like Mike said, one of those learning styles, one-on-one, is called mentorship.
Here we go. I knew.
I was going to say, sorry, before we get to the next topic.
I got more.
I think so obviously your ability to read and write and orate and the whole thing, those are all important. But I think your moral and ethical foundations are far more important as far as your educating young people is concerned.
Yep.
Okay. Like good person from a good background?
Yeah, well, you don't have to have a good background, just be a good person, right? So something I actually read in a fiction, it was funny. Essentially, this really cool idea. The book sucked, by the way. I stopped reading it after halfway through. But they were basically saying that in order to be a security guard in this fictional world, that you had to get 50 people to vouch for you. And I think that's fascinating. There's so many applications to that. And I think teaching would be one of them, right? Regardless of whether or not your educational background is, if you can get 50 people to vouch for you, to say that
you got a job,
you're a decent person, then you can get in the door, right? And 50 is a not an important number, just a group of people that will vouch for you. And I think the other thing too is with that is if you screw up, right, you rape a child or whatever it is. Those 50 people get subpoenaed to testify, right? And that's
you're talking about Danny Masterson and
I think
Ashton Kutcher.
You know what I mean? They do something bad, and you take those people and they get subpoenaed.
An industry that would benefit from that rule,
law enforcement,
massage therapy.
Okay.
I would feel way more comfortable knowing that my massage therapist.
And how do you? I'm going to set you up. And how do you become a massage therapist? Do you have a mentor?
What are you talking about, Mike? I can't really. I can't see your point.
It wasn't a good transition.
I can't see your point coming off because I can only see the shine coming off. Let's see.
Were you trying to say my forehead? Is that what you were trying to say?
No, I didn't say anything. Let's go. Well, you guys, let's talk about
mentorship.
First. No, let's talk about meta first. All right, mentorship. Let's talk about mentorship.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, we already. I mean,
all right, guys.
Like 6 times.
Mentorship. Mentorship. This is a topic that can be very sketchy. But let's have the experts over here to my right explain their theory on mentorship.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go,
Chris. No, you
okay,
go.
so I actually at one point I don't have it. Well, maybe I'll show it another time. But I created like a leadership pyramid. I think I showed you it, Ricardo, a long time ago. I put mentorship and coaching at the top 2 of the tip of the pyramid, and for me, the transition from leader to mentor is you become a student of leadership. So like that's when you really kick your education into leadership into a high gear. Most of the time up to that point, you can pretty much get away with a lot of just leading by example and being a good person and, kind of doing some things. But I think in the mentorship sort of coaching world, you're tailoring your leadership to the individual. Like each person that you're mentoring, you have a different style of leadership because they respond differently to different, things. And so you have to become like a student of leadership to be able to lead different individuals different ways. And I think you have to narrow your focus down. You can't, like, mentorship is not a group thing. You no longer become a leader of large groups of people. You become leaders of small groups of individuals. And I think that's like how my transition in my mind. So
yeah, and I'm going to do it from the flip side. So you're talking from being a mentor. I'm going to talk from looking for mentorship. So one thing I think is very important in any industry, any job, anywhere you work, find somebody that's good at it, at what they're doing, but more so is willing to help out. See, I had 2 very, very, very respectable mentors in my life. When I worked at private practice, equity partner named Larry and an equity partner named Joe. Those 2, I learned a tremendous amount. I asked questions. They took time to teach things to me, but I showed initiative. Like I wanted to learn. I would always find my time to go talk to them about things. And I learned some valuable lessons. But it wasn't just about work. I learned valuable lessons about life. They taught me some of the best things in life. And it wasn't just like, okay, how to talk to certain people, how to treat people, but they taught me lessons about, okay, if it had to do finances, have to do relationships. When you find people that you bond with that are teaching you and they want to help you just on wisdom in life and talk with you about things to make you a better, more rounded person, that's most important. And one of my mentors said something to me really great, and he came from nothing. He had nothing. He was very successful. He basically was an equity partner at the firm, was extremely successful, made tons of money, knew all these people, but he said something really important. He said, you treat the janitor the same way as the CEO. They're both the same people. They just have different titles, but they work for the same company. Doesn't matter. You talk to them the same way. You act the same way. You don't be mean to one. Like, for example, if a janitor is a janitor, you don't treat them less than what they are. You always treat everybody in the company the same. And that stuck with me. And that's still a lesson today, no matter where I am. If I'm in court talking to a court attorney, or if I'm talking to a judge, or if I'm talking to another counsel there, or if I'm talking to their client, it's all the same. And that was an important thing. But make sure when you choose a mentor, it's not just work, it's life. Because you want those lessons. Usually a mentor is older that's going to teach you, but you want that wisdom, you want that knowledge, and you want to learn. You want to be a sponge and really, really learn.
Yeah, mentoring is good. Not to be confused with Mentos, the fresh maker. I think another thing, too, that's important about mentoring is everybody kind of I think associates mentoring with some sort of mastery. And so, like, I want to make like a clear distinction psychologically between like mentoring and teaching. Okay. And so, like, teaching, you don't have to necessarily have mastered what you're just kind of, basically regurgitating like processes and information. But with mentorship, it's easy to figure out what exactly you should be mentoring people on, because mentorship is based from experience. And that doesn't necessarily have to be from age. You can have a lot of experience at a young age about something very specific. But mentoring comes from a place of experience. That's what gives you the authority that justifies the relationship in the mentorship. And if you think you can be a mentor to somebody about somebody that you don't know shit about, it's going to fall right back on your lap. And so that's the difference here, is that just because you know a lot about something doesn't make you a mentor. You may be able to instruct people, but to mentor people, you have to have experience in something specific. So whatever you have, if you're alive, you have experience. So every one of us can be a mentor. Just focus on what are the things that you've learned the most about yourself or about life, and then pass that on. And I think that is something that is a really good way of showing respect and compassion for the life experience, and not and delineating it from having to go out and learn something. It's something that we all experience as we're alive. So it's share the experience, pass the knowledge on.
Yeah. And I just want to say one last thing on mentorship.
No.
If you're being mentored, make sure you're appreciative of the people that are mentoring you.
Oh, Jesus.
What I mean by that is make sure you take the advice, the guidance, listen to it, learn from it. Don't just say and never really understand. If they're taking their time to teach you something, make sure you listen.
Yeah, of course, man. But you can't teach people to not be the people. Those people are always going to their way through life. So
yeah, but my point is, if you're going to if this person's going to take their time out to teach you, then learn from them.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, if you're there and you take something from it, great. If you don't, that's on you. That's on you, dog.
So what I always say when I get promoted, and I'll get promoted one more time, and I'll probably say the same thing. It takes a village. It's always my saying. It takes a village.
Of underage girls? What? That's not cool.
Wow. No, it takes a village, because, none of us, that achieve success really get there without, some guidance along the way. Right. I mean, mentorship can take many different forms. It doesn't have to be like formal mentorship. It can be just, someone that gives you some advice, along the way, somebody that, vouches for you at some point, or just, hey, you're doing a great job. I mean, that it doesn't need to be an entire conversation, or it doesn't have to be repetitive. It can just be like, hey man, keep doing what you're doing, or whatever it is. Because it's like, I didn't get where I got. I'm sure you guys are the same, by myself. I definitely had a lot of help. A lot of people that, looked out for me. Obviously, I did a lot of hard work, but you can have all the hard work in the world, but if it's in the wrong direction, I always joke in the Marine Corps, there's two kinds of Marines. You got your RPGs and your smart bombs. Your RPGs are, if you don't adjust for windage and elevation and the, moving target, all that stuff, you're going to get an explosion. It just might not be where you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And then you got smart bombs, and you just fire and forget.
Allegedly. Allegedly smart. They're allegedly smart.
So, yeah, you don't become a smart. You don't become a smart bomb that's fire and forget without some help along the way.
Let me ask you: if you get your bomb GED, is that do they call you smart bomb?
All right, next topic. Next topic.
All right, guys. Next topic. So it's been in the news a little bit. Meta's having kind of a makeover. Zuckerberg invited Dana White to be on his board, which I thought was pretty crazy move there. And looks like they had kind of a change of heart on some of their practices. They've been accused of censorship and like withholding posts and what do you call
shadow
it?
banning,
shadow banning, whatever that means. And that's kind of weird. Like. And
there he is. Look at that guy.
I couldn't get a video off of this, but there's Zuckerberg. So just to see, that's the guy who's making the changes.
That's Zuckerberg 2.0.
Yeah, after he's broed out,
Mm-hmm.
and he looks like, I'm not sure. He's a little scary to me, but he's definitely cooler now, I guess. And so, what's going on with this? Meta's change of heart. So, what do you guys think about this? They've decided to stop censoring political information and all this kind of stuff, and adopt community notes, which is something that X uses in order to mark posts that may have like information they don't like. What do you guys think?
I think it's beautiful the fact that these tech companies are now becoming more.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear him. Maybe it's your headset.
Check your inputs.
I can hear both of you perfectly fine. Anyways, I'm gonna say my piece while they are working on things. So it's interesting. After this election, I think it was another thing that really spoke about people, and I think it has to do with public sentiment. I really believe it has to do with how society feels. They felt like all these companies did censorship. They felt like all these companies were doing things to suppress the voice and how people felt and all of that. So I think it's just the times. I think it's just how he's pretty much basically adapting to everything. And I think it's just an image changeover until the next situation. It's any corporation. You adapt to the environment. You try to make peace. And then when things change, you start going in that direction. And I think that's what it is right now. You know what I'm saying, Ricardo?
I can hear now.
Absolutely. I completely.
I don't know what he did.
Oh, you
but
can hear us.
Hey, there he
as
is.
soon as you hit the
Hey.
video, I lost all sound. So whatever you did,
Yeah. It
totally
was
muted
just
myself.
a latency thing, I think. But yeah, I mean, like, I agree. I think it's good. I feel like Mark, like I said, has kind of jumped onto a little bit different bandwagon. Maybe, as an innovator himself, he was like, okay, these are the way the tides are turning or something. So I feel like he's, utmost kind of a business guy, like a tech dude, likes to like do whatever he fucking wants to do. Always, he wants to probably be part of the cool club. And the cool club right now, it's not tech dudes. Elon for sure, but like, the cool club is like podcasters and like creators and like all that shit. Those are the cool people, right? And like that's what they do. So he wants to be part of like the cool club and have a cool life and document it and do all that shit. So I like it. I mean, Facebook, it's there. I don't use it terribly often, but I know it's valuable. We sell a lot of ads on Facebook, make good money for products, easy.
I feel like the pendulum's finally peaked and starting to swing back the other way. Because I used to hate that. COVID really kind of accentuated it a lot. Was the browbeating for like everybody's like, oh well, fact check this and fact check that. It always drives me nuts anytime you say anything that's like even the slightest bit controversial or at least not left leaning. You get the whole where's your facts, like where's your sources, all that stuff. But then everybody started stabbing themselves with vaccine without information.
Yeah,
So-
no, I agree. I also think this whole situation is just, it's a pushback. It's his like, okay, shit, we're in trouble. We've been, criticized. So let's do a PR switch and change like he did with his 2.0. I'm going to do 2.0 with Facebook. And that's what he did. Instead, like, he's doing the exact same thing. He grew out his hair and he put on a gold chain and he hanged out with bros. And now he's doing the same thing with
Got the
Facebook.
suntan line,
Yeah.
the sunglasses,
Yeah.
tan.
Yeah.
He's doing the same thing.
Doing
Dana
jujitsu.
White's,
He's been doing a lot of jujitsu. Yeah.
yeah, and also Dana White's an MMA guy, so UFC guy, so he thinks maybe he can get a fight in.
No way, dude. There's no way he's going to risk billions of dollars not being able to eat.
Do you know how much money a Zuckerberg Elon fight would be? Oh my God, the money would be out of control.
I would pay. I would pay.
I would
I would pay.
I think Elon will get his ass kicked. Yeah.
Well, obviously, but that's not the point. It'd still be great to watch. I mean,
I don't know. Elon might be able to throw down. He talked about like in
I
one
don't
of his
mean that
episodes
anything
with
against
Rogan.
against Elon. I mean Elon might win. I just think that Zuckerberg's been training for a couple of years and shit, and that
Yeah, but Zuckerberg's like 10 pounds. Unless he
That's
gets an
true.
arm bar or something going. But he
Yeah.
doesn't look like he's a tough guy in the ring. He looks like, okay, his trainer just takes it easy. Yeah, good job. Okay, pay me $10,000 a session.
Yeah, that's awful, dude. But yeah, good news. I mean, good news for free expression. Good news for information. It's still going to be tainted by the dollar, but I'm glad that everyone's kind of getting on board. Speaking of change of heart, looks like the incoming president has decided. How did you know?
I told you.
How did you just guess, dude? You guessed. And so I didn't put Mexico in there, but apparently this week, yesterday, the incoming president held a press conference to basically create a new United States, or his intentions on, including Canada, as you can see here, part of the United States, all based on a meeting he had with Trudeau, which he said he was going to stop subsidizing, I think, milk, cows, lumber, cars, to the tune of a couple $100 billion. And, I think, Trudeau was like, shit. And he resigned. And that motherfucker resigned. Okay, so
the finance minister resigned beforehand, and then he resigned.
yeah, I don't think Canada's in good shape. I think that might be coming into the U.S. pretty soon. And then he sent Greenland, or he sent his son Don Jr. over to Greenland to wherever Kirk's or something. It looked pretty gang, but they went there and they were like, I guess they chatted about buying that motherfucker and just making it part of the United States, which I think makes a lot of sense. I don't think we should get Mexico. I don't really think that. I think Mexico should just stay Mexico. But I like the idea of the Canada Greenland expansion. I feel like that could be a lot of shit under that ice, man.
well, yeah, one of the biggest shipping lanes the north is by Greenland, around Europe, Finland, Denmark area. So, but Panama Canal, man. I mean, what I say, Ricardo, what I tell you, just annex
He's
everything
talking about
south.
taking by force. Yeah, he's
No, I
talking
was
about
just
taking
saying,
it
not
over.
even take it by force. You just annex it. Just
Yeah.
strike some deals with some of the people and turn them into governors of their states. Because we paid a lot of money. We paid a lot of money to build the Panama Canal. We turned it over, 24 years ago now, 25 years ago now.
Why did we turn it over?
So I reread the whole history today about it. Essentially, there's a ton of pushback in the 60s about how we controlled the Panama Canal. And so there was several presidencies in a row, Nixon, that were all trying to work some treaty out. And then there was a coup in Panama. And so then eventually Carter got a deal with a treaty. So we could defend Panama for free, which means we got to use it. And then in 1999, we'd give it back to Panama. But up to that point, from 1914 to 1999, we were paying $250,000 a year in annuities. That doesn't include cost of just using it.
And so what happened in 1999?
We gave it back control of Panama. So Panama now has control of the canal.
I think we need to get it back.
Yeah, technically, isn't there a China influence over it or something like that?
Well,
right
that's
now?
the thing, right? We don't control it.
Chinese
so
food.
We can't tariff anybody that's outside of the U.S. that goes through it, right? We have no control over who can use it. And Trump is looking at, the shipping lanes for all the exports.
Yeah.
And if you can take Greenland, right, then you control the northern shipping lanes. And if you take Panama Canal, you control the southern shipping lanes. And then essentially we have all the leverage. We then control.
You bottleneck everybody.
We basically, leverage our authority, and now everybody has to deal with us. Which I think is, from a business perspective, it's brilliant, honestly. Like I said, Ricardo, what did I say?
It's gonna be easy.
No. Well, like I said, you take what's the port city on the western side of Mexico? Anyways, you take one of those.
Guadalajara?
You take one of those beautiful Mexican resort towns and you turn it into the Western Hemisphere's Dubai, and just put a bunch of crap there, turn it into a tourist spot, and just reaping the revenue stream. But yeah, there's a lot you could do, tons you could do. I mean, our number one and number two export and importer is Mexico and Canada. I mean, that's so much money that we would save just by opening the border up. Assuming that you control the drugs. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, my favorite thing of this all is Panama Canal, great. Mexico, great. Greenland, great. I don't care. I want to take Canada just to put it up Trudeau's wise ass, self-entitled.
If we only get
trust
one,
fund, babe, that's the
if
one
we only
I
get
want.
one, I want Canada. Yeah,
I want Canada. I'll tell you
that
why.
was going to be.
because
My question was going to be, if we only get one.
His arrogance as his arrogance and his like entitlement with his little trust fund, little privileged kid who's gonna tell everybody how they're gonna live their life and what we're gonna do, and Trump's not gonna do this, and Trump will never win the election, and the U.S. won't do this. And then look what happened. I hate people like that so much because of the fact that they think they can manipulate. What he did during COVID was an atrocity to everybody in Canada. Literally going and freezing bank accounts so people can't buy anything or had no access to money. Literally, it was atrocious. Okay? And I am so happy he resigned. I am so happy he's not there anymore. And quite frankly, his own party turned against him, which was rightfully so, because they saw how big of a fuck up that guy was. Go back to your mansion. Go home with your little two kids, okay? Stop with your bullshit, okay? And do me a favor, never go back into the public arena because you're a fucking disgrace. End of rant.
Oh, where's my rant meter? I couldn't get to it fast enough, dude. We need a rant meter.
Yeah.
That was awful. Don't hate. You can dislike. We don't hate.
No, he is a piece of shit,
I'm
and there's a
gonna mute
reason
you.
why. He's a piece of shit, and there's a reason why Canadians were not happy about what he was doing. He blew out their budget. Okay, he literally tried to take freedoms away from citizens. That's a major problem. And then you talk shit about the U.S. that you rely on.
I think we're gonna take Canada. I just gonna be honest with you. I think it's gonna be like not a tough challenge. I think we're gonna have to kick a lot of those grumpy politicians that are in Canada the fuck out.
Yeah.
But like.
Well, I will say, do you ever see their debates going on between the Labour Party and? You ever watch those on YouTube?
No, but
Watch
that's not what I watch on YouTube.
Okay, so you have to watch it. It's great. So they have debates where all of the members of the political systems are on both sides of the aisle, and the speakers go back and forth and debate each other. And all you hear is like, the political parties, when one person makes a good remark, ooh, ooh. It's literally a debate on certain laws and whatnot. It's phenomenal. I love it. But anyway, goodbye, Trudeau. Have some fun.
Yeah. I mean, like, I agree. I think it's pretty. I just financially, like, I was kind of looking into it, and I don't know what the financial state of Canada is currently, but I heard it's not very good.
It's not.
So if we withdraw these subsidies, right, it's literally going to cut off a good portion of the revenue that's funding the government there. So I'm not sure, how this is going to play out, but it does look like, it's something that could, like, a deal could be cut. And I think he's just trying to kind of like leverage what he has. And I agree. I mean, the United States, I think, has been what I call like paying to play. And so there's like, we go around and we'll be like, oh man, do you want to like sell a bunch of shit over here? We have like 330 of the richest people in the world, million of the richest people in the world just chilling out. They,
Get it together.
Land the
Just
plane.
hanging out. Yeah, basically. And so like, and we'll go out and we'll subsidize a lot of these things, but in exchange, like, we get a lot of favors, right? And so like around the world, we go around and we get to do whatever the fuck we want because we're just handing a lot of these countries money because we're printing it. And so, like, stopping some of these relationships that we have, like Canada, and not just with countries, but with organizations, I think is going to benefit the United States, just like from a cost-cutting perspective, especially if we're funding most of the specific project and the outcomes are not favorable with the United States agenda, then what's the point of funding the project?
Well, they're terrified of tariffs. Canada's terrified that we put tariffs on them. And I mean, honestly, I would much rather annex Canada than tariff them. I mean, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it was the right before the the finance minister resigned. I think they were releasing the budget. I think last year's budget, if I remember correctly, was like 40 billion, and this year was like 67 billion when they released it. And they didn't even include the aspect of tariffs on it, which could have exponentially been so much higher.
Wait, and I read an article that was saying that if Canada as a country joined the nation, it would be the poorest state based on GDP or something like that. Or
I heard something pretty
finances,
similar.
Yeah.
I don't know if Drake's going to be too happy, because then he'll be part of the same system as Kendrick Lamar, and that might be a problem.
Yeah, I really am not too worried about the outcomes in Drake's life right now at all.
I'm just saying, Kendrick Lamar owned him.
Owned him?
let's see what
Is that
the
what you
U.S.
What are you looking, Chris? What are you looking up,
In
Chris?
2023, U.S. GDP was 27 trillion. Canada's GDP was 2.1 trillion. Trying to see if it
pretty
would compare
pathetic.
to the states. New York's
yeah.
GDP is 2.1 trillion. Yeah, so New York's GDP is the same as Canada.
So yeah, we just get another. We'll put some sports team. We get all our sports teams.
Oh yeah, we get the Blue Jays,
Yes.
we get the Raptors.
I'm telling you, this is a play, because guess who's going to win the gold medal in hockey now? Right, right. No contest. No contest.
We get all their hockey players.
I'm betting on
Russia
hockey.
ain't winning no more.
I can't wait to bet on hockey next season. Like, it's gonna be fucking.
Oh
absolute.
God.
Anyways, the only thing that I had left to talk about was extinction level events.
Wow, we're going really positive with this one today.
So Canada would fall in at the fourth highest GDP of states.
Okay.
Isn't California the
So
highest?
California,
in the United
Texas,
States?
and New York would all be higher if Canada became
Yeah.
a state.
That's awesome. That's a good.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Canada?
Good job
New
on
York.
good job on the fact check of Rick saying it would be the worst. The lowest
Absolutely,
GDP.
guys, and that's
Good
why you
fact
should
check.
never trust anything
Where's
they
the-
say.
Where's the community notes when you need it?
Yeah, community notes me. Do it to me. I was going to talk about extinction level events and cyclical events from an astronomical point of view. So anyways, basically, it has been pretty much determined by science that every 27 million years, there is an extinction level event on the planet, and this is kind of what has caused sort of like the Permian era, the age of dinosaurs and so forth. So about every 27 million years, right? That's a pretty long. I don't think we've even been around for 27 million years as human beings. So it doesn't really affect us, right? Have we been? Or
Like
200
100,000 years or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
And
even
so-
gonna talk about this topic. We'll
Good,
let
good.
it-
I don't want
Current archaeological stuff is like 100 or 200,000 years.
Yeah, there we
That's
go.
a lot of
Let,
gue-
let,
a lot of
let him
guessing,
go on
a lot
his
of
rant.
guessing, though.
Let him go
A lot
on
of
his
guessing.
rant, Chris. Don't.
No,
don't
this is a
don't-
discussion.
no,
I love
let him
this
go on his
topic,
rant.
so
Yeah,
I'm good.
it's right. Okay, and so basically, beyond that, we've had some ice ages, and we've had some other. I wouldn't call them extinction level events, but like different changes in atmospheres, different changes in like the continents have moved around, and it seems to be that something has interrupted that 27 million year cycle, right? And about 13,500 years ago, there was a huge sort of mini ice age, change in atmosphere, and sort of like extinction-wide temperature drops and sea level rises that ended up in a huge flood. And this flood has been categorized in all religions in history. Everyone has a flood myth. And what they're talking about is this flood that ended the Younger Dryas, which is what this period is called, with sort of this mini ice age. And so the interesting thing about this, because I think it's kind of hilarious, right? Okay, so the interesting thing about this is that it has been determined that what caused this little mini ice age was that a enormous meteor, right, that was in a group of meteors called the Taurids, and I'll show you guys a little bit about how the Earth and interacts and sort of how we play along a little bit. An enormous meteor, I think it's called like EP2 or something like that. It was multiple miles long. I think it's like 100 miles long. Broke up into pieces, right? And during this, what happened? Some of these pieces, or a lot of them, came down during a period of time when the Earth was really close by that this happened, and so it hit the Earth. It's like what's described in the Bible, with like the fire coming from the sky and all this stuff, and it caused sort of this unexpected cyclical event that I believe sort of chopped humanity. So I believe there's humans before this and humans after this. Obviously, this is where the writings come from. But the interesting part about this whole situation is that, like, we have a lot of knowledge and we're monitoring all this stuff, right? And so the last time that there was something that basically wiped everything out, right, was when we were flying through the Taurids. And a lot of people don't know this, but we go through the Taurids, or the particular part of the Taurids here, once a year. All right, and so this is how the Taurids affect the Earth, and how the Earth passes through when it passes through. And this is Enki, the famous 100-mile thing that broke up and caused Younger Dryas, a huge meteor. And so, like, we go in and out of this thing twice a year in November, I believe is the time when we go through, like, the main part of it. Every single year, we go through the probability of having an extinction level event happen for us going through the Taurid meteor shower. And so I think it's really interesting how, they say, like, you got to, like, take it for what it is, like, live every day, be grateful, and, show a lot of gratification. I'm not saying this from, like, a negative thing, but mostly from a science and interest thing about this and extinction level events and kind of the time periods that these things are having. But yeah, we go through this thing every year. And so it's something that, when you see those meteors, they're like in the sky, like, oh, that's cool.
Meteor
It's
shower.
nice. Yeah. And then one just like keeps getting bigger, as it's coming closer. Like, it doesn't matter, because if it happens, we're all fucked completely. But I do believe that a lot of these calendars and a lot of the buildings that were constructed, sort of in like Turkey and in the Middle East, that sort of align in, perhaps even the pyramids, and align with the North Star and all these things, were sort of I want to believe that there were maps that were left by to kind of tell, like clocks, to tell people, like, yo, bro, this is when the next bad thing was going to happen, because all of them are all they're based on astronomy, and like they're all hooked to stars. So it's interesting, this kind of information. I like these kind of cyclical things, and this is one that I think we might be more aware of.
I thought it was 2016, right?
No, I mean, the world is always going to end, but it's interesting. I mean, and the window could be 150 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a small window.
So I have a question. I saw the movie Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the aliens that have been here for how many years. So I have to ask you a question. What's your thoughts on the pyramid? Do you think aliens built the pyramids? Because the technology, like,
Makes sense.
Okay,
It makes
so
sense. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, sometimes when you look at some of the precision and everything, it's just hard. And then, so have you ever taken? I mean, they've done some stuff. I mean, you take a 2-ton or whatever it is, 20-ton block, and try to roll it on logs, it just crushes the logs, right? So it's just like, there's just some questions that need to get answered.
Right now, the consensus, all roads lead to aliens, based on like everything that I've studied, and I'm not saying like aliens are gods, right? But there's been some clarification in the timeline. And so, like, what I think, I believe this is kind of what like Graham Hancock and some of these guys who have studied this shit believe, is that there was a civilization before this Younger Dryas thing happened in this flood, that was a human civilization or some sort of advanced, and it was really advanced.
Hybrid?
Not I don't know about hybrid, but just like completely advanced, right? Like this is when the time of Atlantis would have been, and all of that shit, you know. And so what I believe, honestly, is that the pyramids were built before the flood by whatever was on Earth that was more advanced, right? And so the common story would be that like there was some people that survived that extinction level event, and then they basically like got together with whoever was around and was evolving and like taught them how to do shit, right? And so the knowledge was sort of passed through the event from a more advanced civilization to a more primitive one, and then now we have modern sort of like
So basically, you think it was an AI agent back before time that was tasked.
So one of the theories that I've seen recently that I like, similar to what Ricardo's saying, is that the timeline is skewed. That's the problem. So like essentially when we think the pyramids were built and when they were actually built might be completely different. And so that the Egyptians might have just been the ones that took over the pyramids, not built the pyramids. And so the pyramids may have been built several thousand years before what we know as the Egyptian timeline, which would
that's
mean
what I believe.
Yeah, that there was, because like if you think about in our current state, the technological differences between like America and say some of the most remote villages in like Africa or whatever continent you want to talk about, right? How different the technological advance is, and that's just in our lifetime. Right? That's just in like the 21st century. So if you imagine that, because like the Earth's been around for a really long time, what is it, 300 million or 600 million or whatever it is. And so like a lot could happen in that time that could have been completely wiped away by some extinction level event.
Yeah, I think like realistically about the pyramids, I think it's insane. Like with everything that I read, everything that I saw, I mean, it's like that type of projects, the way they were able to do it, especially how heavy those blocks were, it doesn't seem like it was capable of being done. They've tried to run things, they've tried to talk about it, they've done studies on it, and it's practically an impossible task that was done. And I don't know. It's like I'd have to
Distances
do more
are
research on it.
insane.
Yeah.
So like I believe a crazy thing, and I'll tell you what I believe. And so like
Just this one.
just this one?
Oh, here we go.
And so
Here we go.
so basically there's a story of like the flood and Noah, okay? And like so let's call that the mainstream version. And then there's also some books, that talk about this in other religions. Zachariah Sitchin has translated some of them. Right? And so like what he had mentioned, and he's got graphs and everything, if you guys want to look this up in the 12th planet or whatever it's called, it'll show you, because he's done the actual research on the globe, that the pyramids actually point the way to the largest flat land strip, right, in the Middle East. So if something needed to land, something really big needed to land in that area. And so like what I think, and let's just say that's one of the things they were doing, but like let's just say that whoever was that made it right out off the planet wanted something that would basically still be alive after huge floods and like and all this stuff like that, and so they knew where the fuck they could land.
But they just didn't make it.
Well, I mean,
they never came back.
I think they had, but they did come back, and then now we have Egypt and all that shit started over there, and the Egyptians were like,
Drones
"Oh
over
yeah,
New Jersey?
We did this, yeah."
So they're the same life form that was with the drones over in New Jersey.
Nope, I didn't say that. I have no
Oh,
idea.
sorry.
I have
My
no
bad.
idea.
I
I have no
thought
idea
that's what you
that
were
is.
saying.
No, I just think yes. I think aliens built the pyramids. I think some advanced civilization before the Younger Dryas, before the flood, built the pyramids. I think Egyptians are trying to date them much sooner, and whatever they were.
But do you think it's the same aliens from the movie Tomorrow War?
One of the other ones I really thought was fascinating.
Here we go.
Well, no, especially when you start seeing some of these really sophisticated tunneling or like cave networks in Asia. they're finding there's like these like caves that they have no idea how anybody could have made them with tools, and there's no record in any Chinese any of the dynasties of them being built, and they're like these massive excavation projects that would have been impossible to go unnoticed. So one of the things was talking about how the reason why there's a drastic difference between, you know, Europeans and Africans, and like why, you know, obviously Africans are black and Europeans are white, is essentially that a group of people survived underground in Europe and a group of people survived above ground in Africa. And so essentially that's where the difference in the skin color comes from. That's a
I
theory.
believe that 100%. My theory was the same thing. Was like, because you look at some of the data on like how agriculture sort of came about, and you look at some of the data, especially how there was like, you know, one species that was evolved that kind of wiped out, you know, the last hominid all over Europe, and like all these things. It really looks like, and I don't want to involve aliens, but what it looks like happened is that like there were some motherfuckers that were like alive, and then like something happened, there was an ice age, you know, and like, you know, and normally everything gets cleaned out, but they figured out a way to survive, and then they took that knowledge forward into where we're at now, and that's kind of why we're getting so far ahead so quickly, based on the fact that like that was millions of years or hundreds and thousands of years of them doing that as well.
Yeah, and I just have to say this to go to your point. Chris, do you see how pale both of us are? And if you look at Ricardo, who's outside most of the day while we're living inside, look at how TNT. Dude, that's a horrible smile.
Yeah, but we're talking. Well, the problem is the timelines are off. We're potentially talking about like 100,000 years.
All right. I was just
not
using it as a fucking
2,000.
point. Okay.
Yeah,
I was just using it as a fucking
Ricardo's
point.
also South American, and we're not. So.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good point.
Yeah, dog, we were outside. There's some caves, South America maybe, but we were outside.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, I think that makes more sense to me, honestly. Like essentially, you know, because if you lived on the surface, the theory being like if you lived on the surface, it was like dog eat dog world, you know, like survival of the fittest, not a lot of, you know, prefrontal cortex stuff really happening.
Like GTA 5.
Yeah, but if you lived in the caves,
Can't wait for the new one.
If you lived in the caves, then there might have been some more of a hierarchical structure where some more of the ideas and technologies would have survived. And then that's why Europe advanced medieval faster than, let's say, Africa as the example.
Oh yeah,
Let me
because they
ask you a
had the
question.
guys were in Europe in the caves. Yeah, that's
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
I think they were in the north, and they
Yeah,
came
but
down.
let me ask you a question.
wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question though. Do you think the aliens from Tomorrow War dug those caves in Europe?
I think
saw
the
that movie
aliens-
once when it first came out. I don't even remember.
I don't
remember,
believe.
I'm gonna be real with you.
in,
I watched that movie and it's entertaining, but I'm on like a Chris Pratt like movie binge. I actually like a lot of his movies. I haven't watched them lately, and
So
I
you have
think
a
he's great.
Chris Pratt man crush? Is that what we're saying? I mean, that's totally fine.
Right.
I mean,
Calm down, YMCA guy over here with your glasses and
no,
your
but
mustache.
I don't believe in time travel the way that movies depict it. Like, I think you could probably travel through dimensions into time or whatever. I'm
like
sure.
Interstellar, like Interstellar,
No, but like
where it's an alternate
yeah, like a
timeline
loop.
to, yeah, like a loop.
Yeah, or whatever. But I don't think you can change anything. Like, I don't think if I go back 10 years from now and like kill my grandfather, like I don't think that kind of shit's possible.
Whoa,
the one that blew
whoa.
my mind, I took a astrophysics or something. There was some class I was taking, and this guy came and guest lectured. He was like, "Time travel is not possible," and I was like, "Okay, cool, it's interesting." And he
I
said,
agree.
He said, if you go back 10 days from now, backwards 10 days from now, the Earth isn't there anymore. You can't move the Earth backwards in the solar system.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's
Exactly.
crazy.
I was like,
Wow.
holy crap. Like,
It's not. You can travel, I think, like within dimensions and scenarios and stuff, but like this whole
Alternate
thing-
timelines.
Listen, whatever you look like you got rejected from an Avengers audition right there, buddy.
I don't know. I wouldn't go to an Avengers, interview like this.
Where'd you get that tie at? Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble?
What?
It's Brooks Brothers, dumbass.
Oh,
yeah, that was.
When was the last time you wore a suit? You probably have a suit from like
COVID?
1910.
COVID?
COVID.
I wore a jumpsuit on Halloween.
Oh, that's right.
That's a
we were supposed to
onesie.
ju-
That's a onesie.
A onesie. Yeah, sorry. My
Jumpsuit,
bad. My
jumpsuit.
bad. My bad.
Okay.
My bad. My
Yeah.
bad.
It's a stretch. That's a stretch, so
Yeah.
you can use the word suit in that sentence.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Your birthday suit?
Yeah, birthday suit. You guys want
Does that
to?
count?
We'll wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for watching Almost Patriots. Tune in, like, share, subscribe. Check out our merch store online. Buy some cool stuff. We'll be back next week at our regular time, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Follow us on X and on YouTube, and be cool.
Instagram. Also Instagram.
Also
Don't forget
on Instagram and maybe Twitter or maybe
X.
TikTok.
You said
soon.
X. You said X.
Yep,
Maybe
that-
TikTok soon.
Maybe
Maybe.
TikTok
Maybe
soon.
TikTok.
Maybe
If
And
they get bought by Kevin O'Leary and
that
the
would be awesome.
Dodgers.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure.
All right. I'll give you my Sammy Sosa every episode.